Guangdong, a bountiful land of exotic fruits, a land rich in ancient culture, a land which created one of the most famous cuisines anywhere. Of the 8 major cuisines of China, including Sichuan, Hunanese and Pekingese, it was the Cantonese who first took their food to the world.
Cantonese food is the best in China.
Canton in southern China is now better known as Guangdong. In Guangzhou, I sampled the world's first fast food before seeking the roots of Cantonese cuisine in Lianzhou. I wade through the Pearl River Delta to find a healthy diet in Foshan, spiritual enlightenment in the tea fields of Anxi, art food in Chaozhou and the future in Xiamen, before a wedding in Daya Bay. For over 1,000 years, this lion dance has been performed in southern China. Like the generations of dancers before them, these men live on a balanced diet with physical exercise, mental stimulation and some of the best food in the world. Welcome to the cuisine we know as Cantonese. Morning. I'm in leafy Liuzhu Park, one of the few peaceful parts of Guangzhou, provincial capital of Guangdong, and I'm limbering up for breakfast. Guangzhou is the capital of Guangdong. It's the powerhouse of the Cantonese people. Driven by cash and commerce, it has grown into a bright and dynamic metropolis. 10 million people live and work in Guangzhou, so you'd expect it to be a pretty stressful environment, but it's not. In fact, I think they're pretty laid back, and I put that down to a Cantonese philosophy of healthy living, good food, and a life in balance. Guangzhou is a rich city, and people like to eat out for almost every meal. At breakfast time, that means dim sum. Cantonese food is known globally as the perfect takeaway meal, being easy and quick to cook fresh. Dim sum, which the Cantonese have exported everywhere, may be the original fast food and is the most popular Cantonese breakfast or lunch. Dim sum can be sweet or savoury, soft or crispy, fried or steamed, but it is always delicious. Guangdong dim sum uses a range of pastries or doughs. Fillings can be a simple shrimp or complex blends, but there is always something to suit every taste. Written in Chinese, dim sum reads the same as yum cha, meaning drink tea, and many believe these snacks were designed to go with tea drinking. But I prefer the other translation, to touch the heart, because in the old days, loving wives would make these delicious treats for their devoted husbands to take to work. Dim sum at the Guangzhou restaurant is made fresh every day by the disciples of Chen Zhaohong. She won the National Dim Sum Championship gold medal 2 years running and knows how to make over 1,000 different types. And these are just a few of them. Chen Zhaohong is going to give me a taster and I'll tell you what they taste like.
呢個角比鮮蝦餃係廣州早茶嘅一大特色，係皮薄餡靚，用鮮蝦做嘅，好唔好食啊
？Prawns, bit of ginger, bit of garlic, lovely.
蝦乾蒸燒賣，皮薄餡靚，係我哋早茶嘅燒賣類之一，好唔好味啊
？It's a pork shumai, which is like a little dumpling with a prawn on top. It's a bit of ginger and garlic, and it's delicious.
廣東馬蹄糕，好好食，又爽又甜。哎，再來一口。 很好吃，哎呀，好吃吗？啊 ，very good， very good， 好吃，再来一口 ，very good， 再吃一点，大口一点。好好食啊！一定要食，唔食唔得，一定要。係，一定要食。我做好多嘢啊，一定要食。好 老友都摸做一啲先。死。
Well, if I thought eating them was easy, making them is apparently a little harder. Madam Chen has decided to let me in on 3 of her favourite dim sum. So let's do it.
好，冇問題。
First, Chef Chen is mixing some fresh shrimp with some diced chicken. To the mixture, she's adding a little bit of salt, some sugar, a little bit of dehydrated chicken stock, and a little bit of white pepper. The sugar is going to give it a lovely little bit of sweetness. Now she's adding the finely chopped baby leeks into the chicken and shrimp mixture. A spoonful of bean flour, a big dollop of pork fat, and a generous drizzle of toasted sesame oil. She's combining it all really thoroughly, and that goes in the fridge and rests for 30 minutes. Now she's stuffing the pastry with the mixture, folding it in half and crimping the sides really tightly, and she's formed a beautiful half-moon shaped jiaozi. Once they're golden on one side, flip them over and cook them till golden on the other side. All in all, 5 minutes and they're done. The next thing Chef Chen makes is deep-fried lotus seed dim sum. She brushes the special flaky pastry with egg white and rolls it around some sweet lotus seed paste. She then skillfully rolls it up in a beautiful horn shape and wraps some dried seaweed around it. Now she deep fries it until it's lovely and crispy. To make her famous white rabbit dim sum, Chef Chen flattens the pastry with a cleaver to give a perfect disc. She then stuffs it with a filling of shrimp, shredded fresh bamboo shoot and diced pork belly fat that she seasoned with salt and white pepper and added just a touch of sugar to. She folds the pastry over, crimping the edges and sealing it tightly, and masterfully shapes it into a perfect white rabbit, using tiny pieces of carrot to give it eyes. She then steams them for 5 minutes. In search of the roots of Cantonese cuisine, my journey takes me north to the mountain home of the Yao tribe, where about 100,000 of this ethnic minority is settled in the county of Lianzhou. For centuries, rivers were the freeways of Guangdong. They allowed the locals to trade food and spices to the rest of China and beyond. They also provided irrigation for the paddy fields and fish to complement the rice. It was here that Cantonese food had its primitive beginnings. These karst mountains formed a natural barrier between the local tribes and the dominant Han to the north, who thought everyone south of them was a savage. This is the land of the Yao people. Although most of the Yao now live more modern lives, there are still enclaves of traditional Yao folk living in northwest Guangdong. In the ancient village of Sanpai, they still wear traditional costumes. And when visiting a Yao village, a traditional greeting is the offering of rice wine to welcome their guests. The Yao's origins are shrouded in mystery, but it is believed that they came north from Thailand thousands of years ago. Spices play a key role in Cantonese cooking. The Yao have always been farmers, and their indigenous produce has influenced their recipes. And one of the most vital ingredients grows here in northwest Guangdong. These are star anise trees, and the star-shaped pod has an intense aromatic and slightly sweet flavour. According to Chinese medicine, it's good for coughs, stomachache and breath freshening. Apparently, the Chinese emperors used to insist that people visiting them chew these before they came. And of course, it's also an essential ingredient in 5-spice powder. Even the leaves smell great. To make authentic 5-spice powder, you need equal quantities of Sichuan pepper, fennel seeds, cloves, cassia or Chinese cinnamon and star anise. Then grind it up with a mortar and pestle to as fine a powder as you can get it. It's pretty pungent stuff, this, and when you're cooking with it, a little goes a long way, so you don't need to use too much, and it does keep for a while. Wow. Oh, what an incredible place. So special.
Yes, everybody in the village have a kitchen like this, and this is where we're going to cook.
Can't wait.
Okay, let's go on and start preparing.
Fantastic. Sunmay, I've never heard such loud cicadas.
Yes, we got this noise every evening.
Amazing. Okay, well look, what are you going to teach me to cook?
Today I'm going to teach you make 5-spice pork.
Okay, and what cut of pork have you got?
This pork belly.
Ah, pork belly's wonderful stuff. It's really fatty, but when you braise it and do a slow cook, it's really, really tender. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, look, I've bought you a present, some 5-spice powder that I made earlier. What do you think of that?
Nice.
Nice. That's nicer than nice. I ground that myself. It's wonderful. Okay, what are we going to do?
Now first you have to chop the chili. And some ginger.
Okay, and this garlic, I've never seen this before. It's like 1 clove of garlic is the whole head. That's wonderful.
Yes, we only use it for cooking pork.
Oh, perfect for this dish then. Okay, what about the pork?
You need to chop it into small pieces.
But I've got all the work to do.
Mix the pork with the 5-spice powder and leave it for half an hour.
So now we've prepared the 5-spice belly of pork. How do we cook it?
Put some oil in the wok, brown the pork, and take it out.
Okay, well I'm going to go for it. Oh, that looks fantastic.
It's all right, take it out.
Ready to take out? Okay.
Next, Peter, add some sugar and water and make it toffee.
Okay.
Want to become toffee and add chili, ginger and garlic.
Okay.
Now, Peter, you can add the pork.
Right. Smells fantastic.
Now you need to add some water, soy sauce and rice wine.
For the final twist to the dish, I added some shiitake mushrooms and dried plums that I bought earlier at the market.
Peter, put a lid on and let it cook for 1 hour and a half, and it's done.
Excellent. Well, it should be done now.
You can check it.
Oh, it smells delicious.
Yes. Delicious, yes?
It's really delicious.
It's even better with boiled rice.
The simplicity of the Yao food is reflected in modern Cantonese cuisine, which relies on fresh, wholesome ingredients. This is a typical country breakfast. Some hot steamed soy milk, a hard-boiled egg, some steamed buns, which are rather like bread rolls, some fried noodles with some beef, shiitake mushrooms and chili, and this thing here, which is rice congee. It's like a porridge, and it's pretty simple, but hey, breakfast around here costs about $1. My next step on the Cantonese food trail lies south in the fertile heart of the Pearl River Delta. This is the famous Pearl River Delta. Hundreds of square miles of fish ponds, rice paddies, fruit farms and vegetable fields. If you want to find out what inspired Cantonese food, this is where you've got to go. The Delta is a legacy of the farming techniques of tribes like the Yao. deforestation of the mountains eroded the topsoil, which washed down the rivers to form huge islands of silt. The rich soil, combined with the wet subtropical climate, provides one of the greatest ranges of ingredients in the world. It's absolute heaven for any chef with an equally fertile imagination. And it's also the Cantonese rice bowl. Guangdong's paddy fields produce 2 crops a year, some 30 million tonnes, and it's all grown on small family farms, just like this one. The rice of the Delta provides more than simple sustenance. Rice can be turned into porridge, flour for noodles and bread, cosmetics and some pretty powerful spirits. Life in rural Guangdong is one of hard work and simple pleasures. I've been invited to Shatang village by farmer Zhao, and what he's famous for is his rice spirit. Most Chinese are not big drinkers, but beer and rice spirit is made here by methods that have hardly changed in thousands of years. Of course, I was welcomed in a now familiar way with the traditional toast of rice wine. Thank you. And a second. And a third. That's better. Now to the serious business of rice wine making. Broken rice is cooked in boiling water for 40 minutes. It's rinsed and yeast is added when the rice is cool. The cooked rice is left to ferment for 15 days, which turns it into a sloppy liquid. A simple still is built using a pot and a wok, and the distilled rice wine runs off into a small earthenware jar. It's a bit of a misnomer to call this wine. It's really a spirit. But like wine, it's also very good to cook with. And after my 4th drink of the day, I'm beginning to feel a little stewed myself. The Cantonese knack for making something delicious out of almost anything has given them quite a reputation. I'm coming back to Guangzhou in search of the exotic. It's said that the Cantonese will eat anything with legs, apart from tables and chairs, and I reckon I've got a pretty strong stomach. But Chowda, who's born and bred here in Guangzhou, has promised me a challenge. He's going to take me around the Jingpin market and see what we can find. Should we have a look?
I'll show you around.
The Cantonese love of weird ingredients was born out of necessity during times of hardship for the peasant community. But many of these curios are also prized for their medicinal value. So, Xiaoda, what's so special about this market?
This is a very old market. It specializes in dried food for Chinese medicine or just general health.
What are these things? I've never seen anything like this.
These are dried seabirds.
Really? And what do you do with it?
Put them in soup.
Okay, and what's it good for?
It's good for your throat.
It's very fantastic. Okay, let's see what else they've got. These look like dried frogs.
This is special for women. It brings out your internal beauty.
Wow, so this frog will turn you into a princess?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This looks like deer velvet, I think, young deer horn.
That's Chinese Viagra for men.
Oh, okay. Do you need to use much?
No, be careful. Don't too much, just a little bit.
Okay,
It's so strong.
Well, I guess these two combined would be dynamite, really, wouldn't they? Now, I can't really believe people eat scorpions. What could they possibly be good for?
Because this area is really hot. People get too excited or angry sometimes. And we make this in soup. It will calm our nerves down and keep us healthy.
What's the story with this? Is this part of Cantonese cuisine?
Yes, it's very common in Cantonese cuisine. And we make soup and also dishes with them.
So you can eat the flesh of these?
Yes.
And it's tasty?
Sure. Delicious.
Delicious. What else have we got? Snakes.
Oh yes, farmed snakes. Be careful.
God, look at them. And do they eat these as well?
Yes. We eat them quite often.
Is there a restaurant around here we can have one?
Yeah, sure. There's a wonderful restaurant over there.
Okay.
Shall we try?
Let's go.
Let's go. cobra snake.
Cobra snake. Wow, that's scary. Okay, can I use my fingers? Not a lot of meat in it, but it's kind of tasty.
Yep.
It's like there's a sweet soy sauce on it.
Yes, it's simply fried, but that's how people like it here. Yeah, very popular.
From snakes to dragons, and one of the most important dates on the Guangzhou calendar. These two boats will soon appease the spirit of the dragon god, who lives in the river and provides rain for the harvest. I've timed my visit to Guangzhou to coincide with one of China's most celebrated festivals, Duanwujie, more commonly known as the Dragon Boat Festival. Every year, people all over China celebrate the Duanwu Festival by racing dragon boats on rivers across the country. In Guangzhou, it's one of the biggest events of the year. It's absolutely manic here. There are 30,000 people come to see 102 different competing dragon boat teams. These dumplings are called zhongzi, and they're named in honour of a famous poet called Qu Liu, who once told an emperor that there was a plot against his life. The emperor didn't believe him, he was banished, and unfortunately killed himself by throwing himself in the river. So, every year during the Dragon Boat Festival, these beautiful little dumplings are made, wrapped up in bamboo leaves, and they symbolise and honour his life, because in Cantonese food, the best way to remember someone is to name a piece of food after them, which is kind of nice. And what do we have in here? It's sticky rice, bits of pork, yellow beans, and nuts. And what does it taste like? It's got a subtle flavour, and I've been told that they're nice served hot, but it's pretty good. They used to throw thousands of these zhongzi dumplings into the river to feed the dragon god, so that he didn't eat the ghost of Qu Liu. But the tons of sticky rice were clogging up the rivers, so it's been banned. Less than an hour from Guangzhou is the original Cantonese capital, Foshan, and it's there I'm heading to uncover the philosophy behind a balanced Cantonese diet. For all the variety and quality of produce from the Pearl River Delta, it was here in the wealthy city of Foshan that a recognisable Cantonese cuisine evolved. Foshan had become rich trading silk, and that wealth attracted craftsmen to build houses, make fancy clothes and cook elaborate feasts. Even now it is still a Chinese status symbol if your chef comes from Foshan. It was here that eating was raised from a necessity to an art form. While traditional Chinese cooking techniques may appear a little scary, there's actually an underlying balanced philosophy to Cantonese cuisine. It's the healthy balance of ingredients and the way it's designed to stimulate all five of the senses. It's something only a traditional Chinese doctor can explain. Dr. Chen is one of the world's most celebrated experts in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. He says he learnt the art from his father, and apart from running a 1,000-bed hospital, he consults on the menus of over 300 restaurants across China. So I asked him to give me a diagnosis.
The doctor would say that by looking at your tongue a little white, that's a little your body is a little heat and your stomach's wet.
There's a great Chinese proverb that says, "He that takes medicine and neglects the diet wastes the skills of a physician." To cure my hot, wet stomach, a Western doctor might prescribe a couple of aspirin. But Dr. Chen has invited his friend, Chef Chen Huaquan, to prepare two dishes, both good for cooling down your inner fire during hot summer months. The first dish is soft-shell turtle with ginseng. Ginseng is healthy for the heart, and turtle is very good for making the brain clear and active. The second dish, shellfish noodle soup, cleanses the heart and removes toxic metals from the system. This dish is good for your lungs and kidneys. If you have too much fried curry.
No,
As with Chinese medicine, Cantonese chefs use the philosophy of yin and yang, the balancing of opposites, such as cooling and heating properties, to create the perfect meal. Vegetable and steamed dishes are regarded as yin, or cooling, including soup, which is served with every meal. Yang, or heating dishes, include fried, meaty or spicy recipes.
This belongs to yang. That's really
Follow these guidelines when you order your next Cantonese meal and see how you feel. A day's drive northeast and I'm crossing the Fujian border to the town of Anqi. I'm seeking what is probably the greatest example of Chinese medicine's impact on the Cantonese diet. 5,000 years ago, tea was prescribed to reduce risk of cancers such as stomach and skin, and to help build strong bones and teeth. Today, it's probably the most popular medicine in the world. Better to be deprived of food for 3 days than tea for 1, or so yet another Chinese saying goes. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to be deprived of tea round here. This is the area around the city of Anqi, the capital of the Fujian tea industry. This bounty has brought the Cantonese region prosperity, spirituality and bloodshed. The British were so determined to get their hands on a cup of chai that they invaded. They even sold the Chinese huge quantities of opium in order to get hold of this stuff. Tea has sustained the region in more ways than one for over 1,000 years. And over there, all that was built from the profits from tea. And this is where they sell it, the heart of the Fujian tea industry, where a pound of the best can cost thousands of dollars. On this busy floor are the buyers and sellers, and they sold a staggering $100 million worth of oolong tea in 2004. It's sold to the Chinese, but it's also exported to 40 countries worldwide, the main one being Japan. "30,000 teapots. The Chinese obsession with tea goes back to before Christ, and even Marco Polo witnessed tea dealing when he passed through here in the 14th century. But don't expect a mug with milk and 2 sugars. Oolong tea has to be taken with great ceremony. Over the centuries, tea has been credited with spiritual properties. The royal family branded it with Confucianism. Buddhist monasteries use tea to help monks meditate, achieve self-discipline and calm. Tea entered the lives of the common Chinese people through the religion of Taoism. Taoism's principles of calm and consideration encouraged the consumption of tea as a way of enhancing the people's lifestyles and promoted the development of tea arts. From this has grown the tea ceremony, an art form which gently prepares the drinker to appreciate fully the delicacy of tea. Combining art with food isn't confined to the tea ceremony. I'm heading to historic Chaozhou, whose cuisine is renowned for elegance and sophistication. For 500 years, these walls protected a society of artists, craftsmen and great chefs from invasion, and as the wealth of the city grew, more and more artists came to live here. But when times got tough, these walls couldn't prevent a flood of immigrants leaving in search of new lives abroad. As a result, Chaozhou cuisine can be found in Chinese restaurants across the world. Chaozhou epitomizes the Cantonese love of beauty, and its cuisine mirrors that love. It's a city that nurtures some of the finest chefs in China. These 2 men are masters of their respective arts. Both learnt their craft here in Chaozhou. Chen Pei Chen creates intricate wood carvings to designs passed down through generations. And Wang Hongjin has created banquets for many world leaders in Beijing. Chaozhou chefs treat their cooking the way the Bolshoi treats ballet. Every move, every slice is studied in the finest detail. Slice too thickly and it will ruin the texture. Too thinly and it will melt into nothing. If you're going to participate in the art of Cantonese cuisine, you've got to make sure you've got the right tools. In China there are 2 main types of wok. the one that they prefer in Guangdong with 2 handles, or the one they prefer in Beijing with 1 handle, which I also like. But as with any good wok, you've got to make sure it's seasoned well before use. The speed and versatility of wok cooking make Cantonese dishes great street food. Chaozhou street cooks have over 250 tempting recipes. The reason Cantonese food always tastes fresh and makes such great takeaway is the speed at which it's cooked. Cantonese street food is irresistible, and Chaozhou has some of the best. Delicious, cheap and inventive. One of the most common street foods in Chaozhou is rice congee, which as we've seen can be as simple as overcooked rice porridge. Here they're famous for lots of things, including shrimp, eel and crab. But what they're most famous for is their chicken, duck and pigeon, because it's as fresh as can be. It's on the street waiting for you to place your order. One of the most famous of the Chaozhou street foods is a type of meatball, and it must be the most amazing way of preparing beef that I've ever seen. Every morning, this company makes thousands of beef balls. When they took them to a recent food festival in Macau, they sold 2 tons of them in as many days. It takes 45 minutes of pounding with these 2 bars to reduce prime water buffalo chuck steak into the sticky-looking paste. This is taking tenderizing to a new level, but it must be great for the biceps. Then they take a handful and squeeze out spoon-sized balls straight into hot water. They take 10 minutes of gentle simmering and are served up in a light meat broth like this one. And they taste kind of rubbery. Pounding all that meat stretches the protein and makes it quite elastic. But if you don't like eating them, there's one other thing you can do with them. This is a fruit salad bar, local style, where people come and get some takeaways for home. I've got some guava, some peaches, green mango, pear and plums. And what's wonderful is it's marinated in this lovely kind of syrupy honey-based thing with some Chinese herbs. And some of them have a little bit of salt. But this green mango here takes my fancy. And it's delicious. I was keen to sample a typical old Chaozhou dish. I met up with Hayley Zheng and her family at their traditional townhouse built in the 1950s by her uncle, who made his fortune in Thailand. Hayley, what are you going to cook for me today?
Peter, we will cook the chili beef and melon.
Chili beef and melon sounds great. What do we do first?
We cook the melon first.
Okay, and is there something I can do to help?
Yes, you can help me to peel the melon, cut them into small pieces.
Although this Chinese okra is part of the melon family, in the West it's better known as a ridged loofah, more commonly used in the bathroom to scrub your back than for cooking in the kitchen.
Heat the wok and add some oil, add the garlic, let them golden.
It's looking cooked. Shall I add the melon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. To the melon, add some fish essence.
It smells like Thai fish sauce. Lovely.
It's ready now, so I will take them out.
Great. Okay, so that only takes about a minute to cook.
Yes.
To make the chili beef, Hayley first slices the meat very thinly across the grain and puts it in a bowl. She then dissolves some sweet potato flour and water to make a paste, and she adds the Chaozhou chili jam to the beef. This local specialty takes 40 hours to make, and it's basically slow-simmered dried shrimps, dried fish, shallots and chilies. She adds a dash of soy sauce to season it, and then the sweet potato paste. She heats a wok until it's hot and adds a few tablespoons of peanut oil. She then adds the beef mixture, cooking this and stirring continuously to stop it from sticking to the wok for about 2 minutes. And then it's done. It's really juicy. Can't wait to taste that. Looks delicious. Lovely, spicy beef and melon. Gorgeous. You'll find snack bars like this all over Guangdong, and the Cantonese have a love of grazing. They're forever eating. What I've got are two little treats. This is baby squid tentacles, marinated and then deep fried. Looks pretty tasty. But this thing here intrigues me. It's like chick on a stick, 4 baby birds of God knows where they come from. And they look pretty tasty, so I'll give it a go. I'm going to start with the squid. That's kind of good. I have to say, I don't quite get the point of this, but here we go. Lovely, really tasty, lots of 5 spice, and crunchy, bones aren't too sharp. It's good, juicy, I like it. Ni hao.
Hello.
Oh, you speak English?
Yes, I can speak English.
This food court's incredible, it's so busy.
Yes, this is a shopping center and it is also the center for people to have lunch.
Oh really? Well, what are you eating?
Yes, in China we call it sha cha mian, and the soup is made of peanut and seafood.
Gosh.
Would you like to try?
Yeah, I'd love to. Is this a local dish?
Yes.
Oh, God, it's really hot. Lots of chili and coconut and peanuts.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Would you like to try mine?
I think this is a little scary for me.
The contemporary food courts offer a new world to southern Chinese youth. But when it comes to formal dining, even the most modern meals still follow a traditional Cantonese structure. To find out more, I met up with Richard Evans, an executive chef who's worked in some of the finest Cantonese hotels for over a decade.
Cantonese are well known for their yin and yang dishes. Your typical yin dish is your vegetables, your soup, which are cooling elements. This is a typical appetizer. It's seafood wrapped up in string noodles. It's followed by vegetable dishes, which are all cooling. Your typical yin dish is your soup. Next, we have a poultry dish. This is a cold duck, normally served after the soup. After the poultry, you normally get a meat dish, which could be beef or pork. In this case, this is beef. And the finale to the meal is usually a fish. In this case, we have a whole mandarin fish, which is cooked sweet and sour.
So this is a complete Cantonese meal then?
Well, the only thing missing is rice, which is normally served at the end of the meal.
Xiamen's nouveau riche might maintain these values, but the city's chefs are adding a global touch to traditional recipes. The Ryuegu Resort, for instance, has a weird way of boiling eggs. And what they've got around here is really innovative. I'm standing at a mineral hot water springs with the water at a constant 82 degrees. What they do is they put peacock eggs, which are pretty cool, and quail eggs in, and they let them cook in the water, absorbing all the minerals, and it's a very popular local dish. Cities like Xiamen are at the cutting edge of Chinese culinary fashion. Sujit Shetty is an Indian chef from the Lun Yuan restaurant, whose Cantonese menu includes some surprising ingredients. This is a really good collection of dishes, but they don't seem to be classic Cantonese. What can you tell me about the seafood one?
About the seafood, the sauce which is made is totally Western style. We are using a Spanish salsa with this.
So this is definitely a fusion dish, Spain and China.
Yeah, it's totally fusion.
To complement the seafood salsa pancake, the signature dish is pork ribs cooked in Brazilian coffee. And their unusual shark's fin soup uses soy milk and is garnished with Italian Parma ham. So that's all very exciting, but what's the way forward?
Nowadays, the Chinese chefs are becoming innovative. Like, they are mixing food with French cuisine, Spanish, Mexican. They're giving something different to the guest, and I think so it wouldn't be happening 5 years before.
And you think that's a positive thing?
This is one of the most exciting times in Cantonese cuisine.
If you want to find probably the greatest influence on Cantonese cuisine, you'll find it out there. Whether from sea, river, or the thousands of fish farms that dot the landscape, the Cantonese include fish in almost every meal. To end my journey, I'm stepping back in time from fashionable Xiamen in search of simple pleasures with the fishermen of Daya Bay. Daya Bay is just one of many fishing ports on the Cantonese coast. The demand for fresh fish in Guangdong is enormous, so the fishermen around here make a pretty handsome living. I'm on Dongsheng Island, a sleepy little fishing village, and later on today there's going to be a traditional wedding going on. So I've decided to contribute to the feast, if the rain allows me. I'm going to go out fishing with some of the locals and get a catch. The island fishing village of Dongshen started off as a small haven for liveaboard fishing boats in the Qin dynasty of the late 17th century. Of the 1,000 people who live on the island, all are involved with either pearl diving or fishing. What a catch! The bride and groom are going to have a great lunch. And amongst here I've got some groper, which is looking pretty good and fresh. Look at that. Some squid. Beautiful. Look. Gorgeous piece of squid with those kind of fluorescent eyes. And all these little baby fish. I don't know what they are, but they've been leaping out of the water all over the bay. It's going to be beautiful. In accordance with Chinese tradition, the receiving of the bride is the most important part of the wedding festival, and this is what's happened here in Daya Bay. On the boat, which belongs to the groom's family, is the bride, and she's been taken out to the island where they're soon to be married. So the boat's arrived, the bride's soon going to meet her groom, and I'm helping out with the wedding feast. What they've got going here is deep-fried pigeons. They're kind of wok fried. Over there they're cooking some cashew nuts, nice and crispy in oil. And then over there a delicious pot of kind of fatty pork stew. Looks gorgeous. So whilst the food preparations are underway, I'm going to make my own contribution. For the wedding banquet, I'm going to prepare a very simple, classic Cantonese dish of steamed fish with ginger and yellow beans. And I'm going to use the tiger groper that we caught earlier on. But first of all, I need to scale and gut the fish. So the first thing you do is cut the belly open. Now what you want to do is remove the reared gills, and the best way to do this is slice and chop behind the gill flaps, and then sever it down near the spine. Flip your fish over, do the same from the other side. It's a bit of a messy business, but you just want to get all that out. If you're lucky, the guts will come with it at the same time. Once you've scaled, gutted and cleaned the fish, you need to score it. And this is because it's a pretty big fish and it'll help it cook more evenly. So 3 scores down one side, deeper at the first one nearer the head, and 3 scores down the other side. Now that the fish is prepped and almost ready to cook, to flavour the fish, you put a little bit of soy sauce in its cavity. Then a drizzle of peanut oil, which keeps the fish moist and adds a little bit of flavour. Then I'm adding the ginger, which gives it a nice astringent quality. It's kind of a lovely fresh flavour. The spring onions, which add a bit of sweetness. To this I'm going to add fermented yellow beans, which add a pungent saltiness. And then to finish it off, a bit extra soy sauce. And now it's ready for the steamer. And a fish this size is going to take about 8 to 10 minutes. And there you have it, steamed groper with ginger and yellow beans. Now I'm going to go and find the groom's family. It's considered quite rude to feed the couple because the bride can't lift her veil until sunset, around 7 o'clock. But it is considered a good gesture to offer food to the bride or groom's parents. And these are the groom's parents. So, what do you think of my fish? Isn't it? Hope this is authentic enough. Excellent. The fish is going down just fine. Wow. Cantonese food is a revelation. It can be weird and wonderful, sometimes incredibly complex, sometimes delightfully simple. It's humorous, spiritual and deeply symbolic. But most of all, it's a joy. I think it's time that we stop saying that Cantonese food is the junk food of takeaway restaurants and think about it again.